A used RAV4 with 100,000 miles on it, cloth seats, no navigation, and a 4-cylinder engine that struggles a little on the highway will still run you $8, $9, sometimes $10,000 in most parts of the country right now. Meanwhile, a first-generation Lexus RX330, a genuine luxury SUV with a smoother ride, more standard equipment, and a stronger V6 engine, is sitting on used car lots for $6,000 or less. Same era, same manufacturer essentially. Very different price tags. And that gap tells you something important about how the used car market actually prices vehicles. It's not pricing engineering, it's pricing a badge. Here's the part most buyers never stop to think about. The Lexus RX330, built from 2004 through 2006, and its slightly updated successor, the RX350, built from 2007 through 2009, share their basic platform and much of their drivetrain architecture with the Toyota Highlander of the same era. The RX330 uses a 3.3-liter V6 that was also used across other Toyota products of that period, and the RX350 moved to a 3.5-liter V6 that Toyota used widely as well. This isn't a rebadged golf cart with a fancy grille bolted on. It's a genuine Toyota-engineered platform, wrapped in extra sound insulation, better interior materials, and a nameplate that historically commanded a premium at the dealership. That premium has mostly evaporated with age and mileage, and that's exactly where the opportunity lives. Let's talk about why the RAV4 costs what it costs. The RAV4 built its reputation as a compact, efficient, dependable crossover, and that reputation is well earned. Toyota's 4-cylinder engines from the mid-2000s through the early 2010s are genuinely durable when maintained properly. But that same reputation means every private seller, every dealer, and every buyer on Facebook Marketplace already knows the RAV4 is a safe bet, and they price it accordingly. You are not just paying for the vehicle. You are paying a premium for the fact that everyone else also wants a Toyota with a reputation for reliability. That's the popularity tax this channel keeps coming back to. The RAV4 isn't overpriced because it's a bad vehicle. It's overpriced because too many buyers are chasing too few of them, and the market knows it. Now here's where the RX330 quietly does something clever. Because it's a Lexus, and because most buyers associate Lexus with expensive maintenance and expensive parts, a huge number of budget-conscious shoppers skip right past it without doing the homework. They see the name, assume it's out of their price range or too costly to maintain, and move on to search for another RAV4 or CR-V instead. That assumption is where the mispricing comes from. High-mileage RX330 and RX350 examples, especially ones sitting at 160,000 to 200,000 miles, routinely list in the $5,000 to $7,000 range, and clean, well-documented examples in that mileage band can be found closer to 6,000 more often than most buyers expect. Let's be specific about what you're actually getting for that money. The RX330 came standard with leather seating in most trims, a far quieter cabin than the RAV4 of the same period, a smoother automatic transmission, and a V6 that simply has more usable power for merging, passing, and highway driving with a full load of people or cargo. The ride quality is noticeably more composed over rough pavement, because Lexus tuned the suspension specifically to feel calmer than the Toyota products it was based on. If your daily driving involves highway commuting, family road trips, or just wanting a quieter cabin at the end of a long day, this is a meaningful difference, not a marketing brochure difference. The engine itself deserves its own explanation, because this is where the real financial safety comes from. The 3.3-liter V6 in the RX330 and the 3.5-liter V6 in the RX350 are both members of Toyota's well-documented V6 family used across the Camry, Avalon, Sienna, and Highlander during this period. Parts availability is excellent because these engines were produced in enormous volume across multiple Toyota and Lexus models. Any independent mechanic who has worked on Toyota products can service this engine without specialty tools or dealer-only diagnostic equipment. That matters enormously if you're trying to avoid the kind of five-figure repair bill that turns a cheap used SUV into a financial disaster. None of this means the RX330 is a flawless purchase, and pretending otherwise would be doing you a disservice. The most important thing to understand before buying one is that Lexus dealership maintenance was expensive when these vehicles were new, and that scared away some owners who deferred routine service to save money. When you're shopping for one at $6,000, maintenance records matter more here than they do on a typical RAV4, because the difference between a well-maintained example and a neglected one is larger. Check for documented timing belt or timing chain service depending on the specific engine and year, verify the transmission fluid has been serviced, and pay close attention to the air suspension if you're looking at a higher trim level, because air suspension components on these vehicles can be expensive to replace if they're worn out. A basic RX330 without air suspension avoids this weak point entirely, and it's worth specifically searching for that configuration. Another honest limitation: fuel economy. The V6 in the RX330 and RX350 is thirstier than the four-cylinder in a comparable RAV4, and if your daily commute is long, that difference adds up over a year of ownership. This is a real trade-off, not a minor footnote. You're gaining power, comfort, and a lower purchase price in exchange for spending more at the pump. For a buyer who mostly drives around town on a tight budget, that math might favor the RAV4 after all. For a buyer who values highway comfort and interior quality more than squeezing out every extra mile per gallon, the RX330 wins clearly. You should also know that not every RX330 on the market is a bargain. Clean, low-mileage examples with full service history have caught up to the broader, used luxury SUV market and can sell for considerably more than $6,000, sometimes approaching what a comparable RAV4 costs. The $6,000 opportunity specifically lives in the higher mileage bracket, generally somewhere north of 150,000 miles, where buyers assume the vehicle is approaching the end of its usefulness. With a documented maintenance history and one of these well-proven V6 engines, that assumption is often wrong. High mileage on a properly serviced Toyota-based V6 is not automatically a red flag, but it is a reason to be more careful than usual, not less. One more configuration detail worth knowing. Buyers cross-shopping the RX330 sometimes confuse it with earlier RX300 models from 1999 through 2003, which use an older engine and transmission, and don't carry quite the same reputation for smooth long-term durability. If you're specifically hunting for the sweet spot this video is describing, focus your search on 2004 through 2006 for the RX330, or 2007 through 2009 for the RX350, and confirm which V6 is actually under the hood before you commit to anything. So who should actually buy this over a RAV4? If you're a buyer who needs dependable, comfortable transportation, values a quiet cabin and stronger acceleration, and is willing to accept a documented maintenance history as a non-negotiable requirement before purchase, the RX330 or RX350 gives you more vehicle for meaningfully less money. If you're chasing maximum fuel economy on a strict budget, or you simply want the smallest possible footprint for city driving, the RAV4 still makes sense, and there's nothing wrong with paying for that reputation if it's genuinely what you need. The larger lesson here isn't really about Lexus versus Toyota. It's about understanding that a badge people associate with expensive ownership can become the exact reason a vehicle gets undervalued once it accumulates mileage. The RAV4 earned its premium honestly. But an informed buyer doesn't just ask which vehicle has the best reputation. They ask which vehicle the market has mispriced because of that reputation, in either direction. Sometimes the expensive-sounding name is hiding the better deal, and the popular economy badge is the one quietly overpriced. Next time, we're going to flip this exact idea around and look at which Toyota and Honda models are actually overpriced for what they deliver mechanically, and which less famous competitors from the same era are offering nearly identical engineering for thousands less. If today's video changed how you think about badge pricing, that one will change it even further.